from WXOJLP Northampton, 103.3 FM, your Valley Free radio station. Welcome. I'm Warren Odess Gillette, and this is A Baha'i Perspective. A Baha'i Perspective is a radio program that interviews people who have chosen to live their lives in accordance with the principles of the Baha'i Faith. If you want information on the Baha'i Faith specifically, you can go to the website www.baha'i.org. That's BAHAI.org. Or you can call the toll-free number 1-800-22-UNITE. Today I'm playing a recorded interview with Dr. Fides Ushe, a Baha'i originally from Malawi who is now a professor of mathematics at Springfield College. I started the interview by asking Fides where she grew up and what was it like growing up there.
Well, I was born in Malawi. Malawi is in Africa, to just a little bit to the north of South Africa and to the east. I grew up with parents. My father was a primary school teacher and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And I grew up with 5 other children. I'm the second one from the last one. So I had 4 sisters and 1 brother growing up. And we grew up in, my father was a primary school headmaster in a village school, so we would live in a school or a house provided by the school, right on the schoolyard. But we lived in the rural areas where there was no running water and no electricity. And I think I'd never seen a car till I was maybe 8 years old or something like that.
Did you live in a village?
Well, we lived in it's sort of a village, if you like. There's a school in the center, and then it's surrounded by several other small villages. So we lived like in the center of all these other villages, and we lived in a house, and then there were other teachers that lived near us. So it was sort of like a village, yes.
Mm-hmm. And you were there until you went to primary school and secondary school and high school there?
Well, not really. I went to primary school there at the village. And then for secondary school, I had to go away from the village because the villages didn't have a secondary school. So you had to go away from there and go to boarding school for your secondary school. And then that was like the first time I had to leave the village and go to a larger town. And I went to Lilongwe Girls Secondary School at, I think I was about 12 years old. So that was quite an experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good or bad?
At first it was scary because I was a very young child going away from home for the first time and going on to boarding school. But then, you get used to it. It turned out to be quite a good experience in the end.
How about high school?
Well, that is high school. Secondary school is the same as high school. So
from
12 on to till I was like 17 or so. I went to this girls' boarding secondary school, and after that, you take entrance examinations, and if you do really well, you get selected to go to the one university in the whole country. And so I was fortunate enough that I did really well and I got chosen to go to the University of Malawi. Yes. And to go to this university, at the time you had to pass examinations that were administered by the University of Cambridge, in London. So they would send the exams over and we'd take it and pass them. And then they'd send them back to England to be graded, and whoever did well got selected to go to this university. So I was lucky enough to go to this university, the University of Malawi. And they were, you really had to be lucky because they were not taking many people. Probably for the whole country, maybe they had 500 students going to this university at a time, yeah.
Wow. So there's about 500 students for each class, freshmen.
No, for the
whole school.
The whole school, maybe 500 students for the whole school. I'd say for the freshman class, maybe 100, 150 maximum.
So they only really chose 150 out of the whole
thousands.
Country.
Yes, that took the exam. Yeah.
Now, was it pretty much chosen by the test score? Was the primary?
Yes, the test, your performance on the test was the major deciding factor of where you went, whether you went to the university or not.
And then what did you study at the university?
When I went there, they make you take, just like here, they make you take different courses and different subjects. But then eventually I decided I was more interested in the sciences. So I majored in mathematics and then in physics also. So I double majored in mathematics and physics because I like mathematics and I like physics for both. So that's what I did.
Now, while growing up in the village, what was the religious culture like? I grew up in the village. The predominant religious culture then was mostly Christianity, and that's because in the area that we grew up, it was under the influence of the early missionaries that went to Africa. I know you know the history of David Livingstone and Stanley and so on. In fact, Livingstone did go to Malawi and founded a missionary there. It's called Livingstonia Mission. And then there were a lot of Scottish missionaries that went to my area. And one of my grandparents was a servant for one of the missionaries there. So he got converted into Christianity from
generally the traditional religions that they had before the missionaries went there. So there's still lots of traditional religions around, but my grandfather was then converted to Christianity, and he passed it along to his sons, and my father was converted to Christianity, and so that was the religion that we followed at the time.
Can you describe what the traditional religions were?
Well, there are different versions. Generally, the main theme of the traditional religions is that people that have gone beyond you, they are like the intermediary between you and God. So they are also monotheistic, except that they believe that human beings, we cannot communicate to God directly, so we need intermediaries, and your ancestors who have gone by are going to be your intermediaries. So you do things to to make sure that you are in good standing with your ancestors, so they can speak to God for you,
I
they
see.
speak. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main theme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you grew up Christian?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I grew up Christian all my life. We went to Sunday school and we went through the religious teachings of the Christian faith. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you went away from home, did you carry that faith with you, or?
When I went away from home, the first school that I went to, it was a Catholic school, so I started to learn the Catholic faith. The Christian faith that my parents were in was the Protestant side, so I learned about the Catholic faith. And then when I went to university, they didn't emphasize any one type of faith or any type of religion, and I guess that's at the time I started to, when you're growing up, you usually just tend to follow what your parents tell you. But when you go on to start to grow up, you start to, to think about, well, they're saying this, does it really make sense, and so on. So that was the time I started to question a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you went 4 years at the University of Malawi?
Yes, I went 4 years at the University of Malawi, and then I did a couple of years in England. After that, I went to the University of Sussex. I stayed there like 2 years. And then when I went back to Malawi and worked a little bit, I was teaching at one of the campuses of the university. And then I came over here to the United States.
Okay, so you were getting a master's at
yes,
Sussex?
in Sussex, yes.
Yeah.
I got a master's in mathematics, and then I went back, and I taught for maybe a couple of years, and then I came over here with the aim of getting a PhD in mathematics. Yeah.
Were you teaching back at the University of Malawi?
Yes, I was teaching the usual type of courses: algebra, statistics, calculus, the same kinds of courses that I still do now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you figure out what university or college you were going to go to get your PhD?
Oh, well, you really do not have much of an input in that. What happens is that the university in Malawi, your employers look for scholarships that, if there are people that would be willing to sponsor you to come over here. And so I was fortunate, the United States Agency for International Development gives out a lot of scholarships to foreign students to come and study. The aim being that then you go back and you try to help develop your country. And so I got one of those scholarships, and what they do is they send your transcripts to a bunch of colleges here in the U.S., and whoever picks you, that's where you go. So you don't have much of a choice. And so I got accepted to Indiana University in Bloomington. I stayed there for like a couple of years. I was again, because you have no input in what they're doing. They put me in a pure math program, and I hated it because I didn't see the relevance of doing it. So I then asked to be transferred to the University of Rochester because I was getting more interested in probability and statistics. So I got transferred to Indiana University, and I did a master's degree in probability and statistics there.
Probability and statistics?
Yes.
Yeah. So what was it like when you first came to the United States?
Okay. Yeah, it was quite different. I have a little bit of a story because I was going to Bloomington, Indiana. When you first get here, we all met up in Washington, D.C. for an orientation program. And then then they send you, after that, they send you to wherever you're going. And they gave me a ticket to go to Bloomington, Indiana. But for some reason, I ended up in Bloomington, Illinois. So you're supposed to have a host family waiting for you wherever wherever you're going. So I got out, got my bags, and I went into this. It's a little airport, so I just had one little small building. So I went in there. I said, I'm looking for Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. They're supposed to be here to pick me up. And I imagine this is the first time I've been in this country. I was so scared. And this big American guy sitting behind the desk. So then he says, where are you supposed to be going? I said, I'm going to Indiana University. He says, lady, you're supposed to be in Bloomington, Indiana. This is Bloomington, Illinois. Oh my God. But he was really nice. He said, okay, don't worry. There's a shuttle that's going to Bloomington, Indiana, and we'll call the airport and so that your host family can wait for you there. So he did all that. I was really surprised. And so he called them up, and they got me on this little plane, and finally I got to where I was supposed to go. So that was my first experience coming to this country. Yeah, so it's really scary. It was. And
what was the scary part?
Well, basically not knowing anybody, not knowing what to expect, and so on.
Did you get your PhD?
No, I didn't get my PhD at Indiana University. I left and went to Rochester, University of Rochester up in New York, and I didn't get my PhD there either. I could have another master's degree in probability and statistics. And then that's where I met up with Sam. Remember Sam, and in fact he
is he also Malawian?
No, Sam was Zimbabwean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there was a Malawian there, and the Malawian didn't have any form of transportation, so he'd asked Sam to come and pick me from the airport, and that's the first time I met him. So I stayed there, and we eventually got together and we got married. So I was more interested in being married than going on to school. But eventually I went up to University of Buffalo and did my PhD there and finished it up. Yeah.
What were the circumstances that bring you here to Springfield?
Yeah, that's another good story. Well, Sam was planning to retire, and I had just finished. I was in the process of finishing up my PhD up in Buffalo, and I was looking for jobs. The plan was, when Sam retired, I'd pick it up and start my work, and so. At that point, we decided we could look for a job anywhere in the country because, then wherever I went, all of us would go there. And
the four of us?
Okay,
so how long were you in Buffalo?
Well, we were in Rochester area about 10 years. We were in Rochester.
Okay. So you had a family.
Yes, I had a family at that point. I had a family. Sam had kids prior to meeting with me. I too had kids in Malawi before coming here. So when we got married, we got all our kids together, and so we had a really big family. And so, most of the kids were grown up, and most of them were out at that point. So it was like Kumbi and then Sam and me that were together at that point. And so he was also a college professor at the community college in Rochester. So he decided he was going to retire, and then I could find a job anywhere in the country. So I started looking for jobs, and I applied to Springfield College. They called me up for an interview, and then they invited me to come. So that's how I ended up here.
You saw that there was an opening at Springfield College?
Yes.
I see.
Yeah, I at that time, I think I saw that job in the Chronicles of Higher Education. I'd applied to here. Might as well have ended up in Arizona. That was the other job. I had job offer over there and so on. So that's how we ended up in Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you've been now teaching at Springfield College for?
This is, I'm in my 10th year there at Springfield College. I know it sounds like just yesterday we came here. Yeah.
Why don't you tell the story of how you ran into the Baha'i faith and what caused you to look into it?
Yeah. It was, I think, my first year at Springfield College. At that time, the college was talking a lot about diversity issues and how we could attract students of color or minority students, how we would be able to attract such students to our college. And so they'd set up different committees to look into this problem. And I guess by luck of the draw, I was in a committee with Nina Dini, because, Nina teaches at Springfield College.
What is her position?
She's an associate professor of computer science at Springfield College.
Okay.
Yes. And by the way, we're in the same department because I'm a professor of mathematics, and we are in our department is mathematics, physics, and computer science at Springfield College. And so we were in this group together, and we were talking about the problems of diversity in the United States. Why don't like groups tend to be together? There's always a tension and so on. And then Nina started talking, and she started talking about unity, and started talking about all the possibilities that could happen and so on. And it just, I just thought, wow, that seems to make sense to me. And then afterwards we started talking about it together, and then she said, well, if you're really interested, I have a number of books I could give you to read about the Baha'i faith. That was not the first time I had heard about the Baha'i faith, because there is in Malawi, the Baha'i faith is quite prominent, so to speak. So I had heard about the Baha'i faith in Malawi before, but I had not taken a chance to investigate the Baha'i faith. And so I said, sure, I'll be interested in reading. And so I started reading the various books that Nina gave me, and things were just starting to click, like click. Like, wow, this is exactly the way my mind works. This is exactly what I, how we can solve problems of this world. There's this blueprint that is out there that God sent to us through Baha'u'llah. Why can't we do that? And that would sort of solve a lot of our problems. And it really made sense to me. And so that's how I got interested. I started going to firesides. I started going to Sunday school when it was still at Springfield College.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I got introduced to the
Okay.
Baha'i faith.
Mm-hmm. Have you been back to Malawi since?
Yes, I've been back to Malawi maybe 3 or 4 times since becoming a Baha'i, and I have looked up some Baha'is in Malawi.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a chance to go to the national center for the Baha'i, but I know where it is. It's like I said, in Malawi. They will say the major religions or the major faiths are Christian, Islam, and then they mention Baha'i as the third.
Really?
Yes, so it's that popular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so, and I know a few Malawian Baha'is over there, and they have local spiritual assemblies in the most remote villages. It's so fascinating.
So, for our listeners' benefit, a local spiritual assembly is a local governing body for the Baha'is in a village or town. Now, you have recently gone to Malawi to do some...
Yeah, like every other summer, I go back to Malawi, and I go back with a few friends, and we go back and do projects for the people in Malawi. And especially we go back to this village school that I grew up in, and we help to build classrooms, to build a clinic, helped with books and sports uniforms, sports equipment. We've helped with bringing in medicines, lots of medicines on occasion, and we are planning our next visit is this June. I think we're leaving June 24th for our next project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what do you plan to do when you get there?
This time our focus is on malaria prevention. As you probably know, malaria kills a lot of young babies. So anywhere from infancy to age 5, that's the most critical stage for children. And so we are planning to go and buy a lot of treated mosquito nets so that they can put the babies under the nets and then the mosquitoes can't get to them. We're also going to buy a lot of anti-malaria medicine, so in case the kids get the malaria, they'd have the medicine to cure it. We're going to try and have some workshops where we can train the women and the fathers how to make their villages so they don't have standing water around that would encourage mosquitoes and things like that. We're also going to start a sort of like a workshop for teenagers that graduate from high school but then they have nowhere else to go. The workshop will be for raising maybe chickens or goats or some other types of small animals where they would raise for meat and so on. They'll also have gardens where they can grow crops using some sort of irrigation so that they have something even if the rains don't come. So that's the other project we're planning.
Now, who's providing the funding for all of these things?
Well, we do not have any particular sponsor for funding, so we have been raising the money on our own. I have been working with Dr. Beth Evans, who is also a professor at Springfield College. So the last 4 trips we've gone together. And what we do is the minute we come back, we start our fundraising. So we collect the returnable cans and bottles, and then we take them to the recycling, and we get like 5 cents for each one. We've done tag sales, and people give us items that they would like to donate, and then we do tag sales. And we're planning to run one tag sale in May before we go. We've written for like small grants. There is an organization called Friends of Malawi. It consists of volunteers who used to be Peace Corps volunteers in Malawi, and they've since come back. So they formed an organization, it's called Friends of Malawi, that has either the people themselves, their spouses, their parents, their kids, or anybody else who would like to be a friend of Malawi. And so they provide small grants to people that are planning to do projects. And we've gotten each time maybe a $500 grant from Friends of Malawi to go and help. And then we pitch in ourselves with a lot of our own money to do it. Yeah.
So if somebody wants to contribute, how would they?
If they want to contribute, if let's say they are doing recycling on their own, they can bring the cans and bottles to me, or they can bring it to Beth, and then we'll take them there. Or if they prefer to go and recycle the cans and bottles themselves, they can do that, and then give me the money. They can donate items that we can sell at our tag sale, and even friends have given us money outright, and we've had several friends that have given us money, and what we do is we keep track of it, and then when we come back, we tell everybody, we send out a newsletter, so to speak, to explain what we did. Yeah.
What's the best way for them to contact you?
Well, they could give me a call, but I don't know if I should give out my number.
How about email?
Email, yes, yeah. That would be the best. The best way is you can send me an email, and it's FUSHE@spfldcor.edu. So FUSHE@spfldcor.edu. Okay. Yeah.
Who was the other professor's name?
The other professor's name is Beth Evans, and her email is eevans@spfldcor.edu.
Yes, SPFLDCOL stands for Springfield College. .edu.
Yes.
Okay. Do you miss Malawi?
Yes, I do, because most of my family is still there. Although both my parents have since passed on. I have a sister in Malawi. I have a brother in Malawi. I have lots of cousins, lots of nieces. I mean, I have lots of friends here, but I do miss my family, and it's not the same. Like, you came in here, you just found me. That would be very rare if I were in Malawi. There's usually people hanging around you, and there's people chatting with you all the time. So that's what I usually miss. Yes.
So you miss the culture?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's the culture. You don't have to make an appointment to go and see somebody. You don't have to call ahead. You just say, "Oh, well, I miss Fides. Let me just go and see her." And if I'm there, you walk in. That's fine. If I'm not there, well, you say, "Well, I'll pass by next time," and so on. So that's the culture that I sort of miss, and and just being with your family. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. What would you think your life would have been like if you had not become a Baha'i?
I think I would not have the same amount of peace in my heart that I feel by being a Baha'i, because I would still probably be searching. I would still probably be. I mean, I still have lots of questions, but I'm finding answers that sort of give me peace or give me hope or give me strength. I think if I were not a Baha'i, with what's going on in today's world, it would be very scary. But by being a Baha'i, you say, well, this is exactly what Baha'u'llah said would happen, and so you say, well, this is just what we're expecting, since the world is not listening to the teachings of Baha'u'llah. Then the old world is being swept away, and so you know that you're not scared with what is going on, so to speak. That's what I think I have gained from being a Baha'i. I'm not as scared as I probably would be by just looking at what's going on in the world today.
Well, it's very interesting that you would have this peace because you know these tribulations have to occur. That's part of the process. But at the same time, you still have this sense that you need to be of service by going to Malawi. How do you reconcile?
Well, yes, because even throughout the tribulations, I think it's very necessary that we do what we can to make life easier for the other human beings, and so it may look like, well, I know that's what is expected, but by doing service, by the people seeing what you are doing, you're hoping that more and more people will see that this is the way to be able to get sort of, if you like, to the other side after all these tribulations. And so service is one of the Baha'i virtues, and we. I'm happy to do that, because you are doing what you're supposed to do, so to speak. Yeah.
Do you have any stories that you want to share from your projects that you've done?
We have done the projects we have done at the school are the ones that we are most proud of. The reason being, Malawi is sort of a very patrilineal society, so to speak. That is, they value the boy child more than the girl child. And so, because the resources are very limited, if they have to make a choice, they will usually spend the meager resources on the boy child and not on the girl child. So one of the things we have done is to give scholarships to girls so that they can go beyond the primary education. Primary education is free, but after that, high school, you have to pay tuition, and then obviously university, you have to pay tuition. And so one of the things we have done is to pay tuition for girls to go from primary school to secondary school. What that has done for those few girls is they have a chance to escape if they don't do that, they're forced into early marriages or they are sold off by their own parents to pay debts by other people for debts that they owed to other people. And so by just giving them maybe a year or a couple of years in school, you have prevented that child from going to marry, maybe a 12-year-old marrying a 60-year-old man, or being sold to, or being paid off for debts to somebody else. So that's doing that really, I mean, you can feel my voice. It just makes me feel really good that we were able to do that. It's still, we're fighting a rising tide, but we try to help maybe 1, 2, 3 girls. We managed at one time we paid actually Beth paid tuition for 4 girls. 3 managed to stay for 3 years. 1 managed to finish the 4 years in high school. So that was really good. Yeah.
Now, you sort of blazed the trail in your own life. I mean, how many girls were majoring in math in the University of Malawi?
Not that many. I even I was. It was unique at the time, and so I think I'd like to give credit for that to my own father, because he was a primary school teacher, but he had 5 girls and 1 boy, so he didn't really have much of a choice, and he didn't want his children to end up just like most of the other girls. So he decided to sort of buck the trend and invest in the girls instead of just the 1 boy that he had. Mm-hmm. And so he managed to pay for school fees, tuition for all of us. And I sort of had the knack for mathematics, and I loved it from the early age, and still do up to now.
Mm-hmm. Did you run into any barriers in this patrilineal?
Oh yeah, especially once I got to university, like the first class I got in, I think maybe there were just 2 girls out of probably 30 in a whole class, and the boys were like, "What are these 2 girls doing in here? They'll probably just drop out, and they will not be able to do it." But we sort of shocked them the first sort of major test. I think we beat all the boys in terms of the grades that we got. And so they started to say, these girls, maybe they know a little bit more than we do. So it was okay. And not only that, when I came here to the United States too, I sort of, this was also different in a way that you didn't find many minorities in the sciences or in mathematics. So I would stand out, especially in graduate school, when you're taking, graduate math courses. There's usually not many women, and there's hardly any minorities. So that too was a bit of something you had to contend with. And those were some of the things I just had to go through.
Mm-hmm. What was your experience in the realm of being a black woman arriving to the United States versus coming from a culture where you were the predominant?
Yeah, I think that worked in my favor. I usually tend to think that maybe if I was born here, probably I wouldn't have taken advantage of the opportunities as much as I have. That's just a feeling that I have, because I think the black women have a lot more barriers in this country than in any other country, and so you really have to fight a lot more to be able to do what I was able to do. Mm-hmm. That's because I came here, I already had a master's degree in mathematics, and so I knew I could do it. But the kids are discouraged at an early age here, so you don't get to move up. I mean, with the circumstances, you don't have the resources to get up to that stage.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice a difference between being in Sussex versus being in the United States?
Yes. I did notice a difference. I don't know, maybe it's just a perception. I didn't feel so isolated in Sussex that as I felt when I went to Indiana. I was in Indiana,
Yeah.
It was in New York City or anything like that.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask about your sisters.
Okay.
Your father. You said your father invested on all of you.
Yes.
And so where did your sisters?
Well, my older sister, she didn't get very far in school because she was over here. They would call her. She had like developmental disabilities, my older sister, so they didn't have any sort of special ed schools in the country, so she didn't go very far.
Mm-hmm.
But then my next sister, she went and did teacher training, so she taught in high school. Then my second next sister, she's a nurse. She trained in Israel, so she became a nurse. And then my brother, he became a teacher too. And then there was me. And my youngest sister became an accountant. Mm. So we all did really well.
And you're the only one here in the U.S.?
Yes, I'm the only one here in the U.S. One of my sisters is in South Africa. Mm-hmm. And then one of my sisters is in Zambia. And then I have my brother and my sister in Malawi. Our first sister has since passed on.
Mm. Do any of them have a desire to be in the United States?
Well, not to come and stay. My sister, the nurse, she's been here. She came, when was that? 2000 or 2001. She came before that. Her husband graduated from Miami University, Ohio, so she came for his graduation, and then she came to visit me in 2001. But that's the only one who's been up here.
Do you think you'll ever go back to live in Malawi?
Yeah, I'm planning on doing that. That's my retirement plan, is to retire here and go back and live in Malawi. And I think the main reason I stayed because I was married to Sam, and then I have kids here, and I want to see my kids get through their education and see them settled in. And when I retire, I've told them, well, I'm retiring back to Malawi. They would have to come and visit me there. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you'll be doing great things when you get there.
Well, I hope so. There's all sorts of ideas in my head that
like
I
what?
would like, going back and maybe starting a school for girls and rescuing girls that are in these dire situations and so on. Yeah.
Do you see that improving in Malawi?
Well, there is some hope. The country is now coming up with lots of legislation to try to rescue the children from this type of situation, and so they're making it. It wasn't a crime before, to sell your child or to get your child married off to somebody else when the child was like 10, 11 years old. So they're making it a crime now, and they're prosecuting fathers who are doing that. So hopefully it will stop. They'll put a stop to that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Other ideas in addition to?
Oh, in addition to the school,
yeah.
I would hope to be active in the Baha'i community in Malawi. Obviously, I'd hope to. One of my ideas is to have a a farm where I can, grow crops and raise chickens and be self-sufficient. And those kinds of ideas. Those are what's going on in my head right now. And just be back to my society that I grew up in Malawi and go back there. I'll still have my kids here, so I'll definitely be coming back here to visit them and so on.
Are there many Malawans here?
Yes, they are in Boston especially. There's quite a few Malawians in Boston. In Connecticut, like Hartford has a few Malawians. Then lots of them in New York City and so on, And we sometimes get together, like I was talking to you about the Peace Corps volunteers. Sometimes they, we have a get-together of former Peace Corps volunteers and Malawians. And as you know, Beth was my former teacher, even though I didn't know at the time when I was at the Longer Girls Secondary School.
No way.
Yes, that's how we got to know each other. Was she was a Peace Corps volunteer at the Longer Girls Secondary School, and that's the secondary school I went to when I told you I went to boarding school. I was like 12, and she just graduated from college, and she went to volunteer. She was in the first group of Peace Corps volunteers, and she was at my school. She was teaching, I think, English, history. She was the school nurse and whatever else they could get her to do. And when I came to Springfield College, first day I was walking out of we were doing orientation, and then she says to me, "Morning, Mulibwanji," which is "Hi, how are you?" in the Malawi language. I turn around and I was like, "Where did you learn that?" And so she says, "Oh yeah, I was a Peace Corps the Longer Girls." And then she says when she was. I said, "I was there too." That was the funniest thing. Talking about the same people with you and so on. That's how we got together. And that's the funniest thing. There's this small world story there. And
that was 10 years ago.
That was 10 years ago, and we've since been very good friends. We've gone back to Malawi together each time. The people there love her. She's like one of their daughters and so on.
How long was it after two of you made the connection at Springfield College that you started doing these?
The projects. Yeah. Actually, we did the first project right away, because that was 96, 98. I went back to Malawi and we did our first project. I took medicines there. She didn't go with me the first time. Then she went in 2000. She went back with a group of Peace Corps volunteers. They went back for the Y2K reunion, and I'd already gone ahead, so we met up over there and started our projects. And we've gone back every other year. So we went back 2000, 2002, 2004, and we're going this time. 2006, yes.
And as far as you know, you'll be doing this 2008.
I don't know. We don't know. I mean, we always say, well, maybe this is it. But the minute we jump on the plane coming back here, we want to get back there right away. So it's always been like that. It's just the feeling is wonderful when you get there and you are so at peace. Everybody loves you, and you just feel so rejuvenated coming back. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with Fides Ushe, a Baha'i originally from Malawi who is now a professor of mathematics at Springfield College. If you would like information on the Baha'i Faith specifically, you're welcome to visit the website www.baha'i.org. That's BAHAI.org. Or you can call the toll-free number 1-800-22-UNITE. I hope you'll join me next time on A Baha'i Perspective.